The first message came at 2:17 a.m. on a Tuesday. Mark Wilson squinted at his phone's bright screen in the darkness of his bedroom, momentarily confused by the notification. He hadn't received a text this late in years, not since Emily was born and his life transformed from carefree bachelor to devoted single father. "Hey handsome, still thinking about our conversation earlier? You free tomorrow night? I make a mean margarita, winky face." Mark stared at the message from the unknown number, his tired brain struggling to process it. There was clearly a mistake. He hadn't had a conversation with anyone besides his 7-year-old daughter and his elderly neighbor Mrs. Patterson, who certainly wasn't sending flirty late-night texts about margaritas. He set the phone down, deciding to ignore it. Wrong numbers happened all the time. But as he drifted back to sleep, a small part of him, the part that remembered what it felt like to be wanted, felt a tiny spark of something he hadn't experienced in a long time. Morning arrived with the usual chaos. Emily needed help finding her favorite purple socks, breakfast had to be made, lunches packed, and hair braided before the school bus arrived. Mark moved through their routine with practiced efficiency, the mysterious text forgotten until he dropped into his desk chair at the small architectural firm where he worked. Another message had arrived. "Hello? Did I scare you off? I promise I don't bite, unless you want me to." Mark sighed and finally replied, "I think you have the wrong number. I'm not who you're looking for." The response came almost immediately, "Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so sorry." Mark smiled and typed back, "No worries. Happens to everyone." He assumed that would be the end of it. He was wrong. "Wait, is this Mark? Mark Wilson?" His fingers froze above the screen. How did this person know his name? He hesitated before responding, "Yes." "Who is this?" "It's Jessica Lawson. From Westlake High. Class of 2005. The name hit him like a thunderbolt. Jessica Lawson. The girl every boy in school had a crush on. The head cheerleader who dated the quarterback and never gave Mark, the quiet, artistic kid who spent lunches in the art room, a second glance. That Jessica Lawson was texting him at 2 a.m. about margaritas? Jessica? Wow, it's been forever. How did you get my number? I saw your name on the reunion committee email chain and thought I'd reach out. The text about margaritas was meant for my girlfriend about our girls' night. Totally mortifying mix-up. Mark laughed, the tension in his shoulders easing. Of course it wasn't meant for him. The reunion committee had been emailing about the upcoming 20-year reunion, and he'd ignored most of the messages. No harm done. How have you been? What started as an awkward mix-up quickly evolved into catching up. Jessica was divorced, working as a marketing executive, and had recently moved back to their hometown. Mark shared about his architectural work and, eventually, about Emily and his journey as a single dad after his wife died during childbirth. I can't imagine how hard that must have been, Jessica wrote. You always were the strongest person in our class, even if you didn't know it. Mark stared at the message, puzzled. He and Jessica had barely interacted in high school. He couldn't recall a single conversation they'd had. We didn't really know each other in school, he replied. I knew you better than you think. You designed the set for the spring musical senior year. I was always too intimidated to talk to you, you seemed so focused, so sure of yourself and your talent. Not like the rest of us just trying to fit in. The conversation continued over days, then weeks. What began as reminiscing about high school evolved into deeper discussions about life, parenthood, and second chances. Jessica was funny, thoughtful, and nothing like the shallow cheerleader he remembered. When she suggested meeting for coffee, Mark hesitated. His life revolved around Emily, his work, and the small, safe world they'd built together. Dating wasn't something he'd considered since becoming a father. I'm not sure that's a good idea, he texted back. Just coffee, Mark. As old friends. No pressure. After consulting with his sister, who offered to watch Emily, Mark agreed. They arranged to meet at a small cafe downtown on Saturday afternoon. The morning of their coffee date, Mark stood before his closet, realizing he hadn't worried about his appearance in years. Emily sat on his bed, swinging her legs and offering fashion advice. "Wear the blue one, Daddy. It makes your eyes look like the ocean." Mark smiled at his daughter. "The blue one it is." He arrived at the cafe 15 minutes early, nervously checking his phone and second-guessing his decision. When the door chimed, he looked up to see a blonde woman scanning the room. Jessica had aged well, her high school beauty had matured into something more striking, more authentic. When their eyes met, her face lit up with a smile. "Mark Wilson," she said, sliding into the chair across from him. Still hiding those gorgeous blue eyes behind too long hair. The coffee date stretched into dinner. Conversation flowed easily, punctuated by laughter and moments of surprising vulnerability. Jessica spoke about her failed marriage to her college boyfriend, her struggle with infertility, and her recent decision to start over in their hometown. "I never thought I'd come back here," she admitted. "But after the divorce, I needed somewhere that felt like home." Mark understood that feeling all too well. As they parted ways that evening, Jessica hesitated before leaning in to kiss his cheek. "I'd like to see you again," she whispered. Mark nodded, unable to deny the connection he felt. "I'd like that too." Their relationship developed slowly. Mark was cautious, protective of Emily and the life they'd built. Jessica respected his boundaries, never pushing to meet Emily until Mark was ready. When they finally did meet, 3 months into dating, Emily was initially shy but quickly warmed to Jessica's genuine interest in her art projects and stories. 6 months after the accidental text, Mark and Jessica were having dinner at his house after Emily had gone to bed when Jessica grew unusually quiet. "Everything okay?" Mark asked. Jessica took a deep breath. "I need to tell you something, and I'm afraid it might change how you feel about me." Mark's stomach tightened. In his experience, conversations that started this way rarely ended well. That first text wasn't entirely an accident, Jessica confessed, her eyes fixed on her wine glass. "I did mix up the numbers, but I was trying to text you, not my girlfriend." Mark stared at her, confused. "What do you mean?" "I saw your name on the reunion committee list and looked you up. I found out about your wife, about Emily, about the amazing father you've become. I wanted to reach out, but I was nervous. So I had a few glasses of wine and decided to text you, but I got the digits mixed up and sent something way too forward. So the whole thing about the margarita text being meant for your girlfriend was a lie," Jessica admitted, finally meeting his eyes. "I was embarrassed and panicked. I'm sorry." Mark sat back, processing this revelation. "Why me? After all these years?" Jessica's expression softened. "Because I've had a crush on you since 10th grade when you corrected our English teacher about Shakespeare. You were the smartest, kindest boy I knew, but I was too caught up in what everyone expected of me to do anything about it. But you never even spoke to me. I was terrified you'd see right through me, the cheerleader who secretly read poetry and dreamed of being an artist instead of dating football players." She reached for his hand. "I've spent 20 years regretting not having the courage to be myself back then. When I saw your name again, it felt like a second chance." Mark was silent for a long moment. "That's quite a story. Are you angry?" Jessica asked, her voice small. "I'm surprised," Mark said slowly. "But I understand what it's like to want a second chance." Their relationship deepened after Jessica's confession. The pretenses fell away, allowing them to connect more authentically. Jessica became a regular presence in their home, helping Emily with homework and joining their weekend adventures. A year after the fateful text, Mark proposed during a picnic at the lake with Emily's enthusiastic assistance. As Jessica tearfully accepted, Emily threw her arms around them both. "Now we can be a real family," she declared. Jessica knelt to Emily's level. "We already are a family, sweetheart. The ring just makes it official." Their wedding was small and intimate, held in Mark's backyard with Emily as the flower girl. During the reception, Jessica clinked her glass for a toast. "7 years ago, I was lost," she began. "I had everything I thought I wanted, the career, the husband, the house, but I was desperately unhappy because none of it was authentic. When my marriage ended and I couldn't have the children I longed for, I thought my chance at happiness was over." She looked at Mark and Emily with tears in her eyes. "Then I sent a text message to the wrong number, or maybe, the exactly right number, and found my way home. To the man I was too afraid to talk to in high school and the daughter I never thought I'd have." She raised her glass. "To second chances, to being brave enough to be yourself, and to the family we've created together." As they settled into married life, challenges arose. Emily struggled with sharing her father's attention. Mark's in-laws were hesitant about Jessica replacing their daughter's memory. Jessica faced her own insecurities about stepping into a ready-made family. But with patience, communication, and unwavering commitment to each other, they navigated each obstacle. Jessica legally adopted Emily on her 9th birthday, a day filled with tears and joy. Mark's in-laws eventually embraced Jessica after seeing how she honored their daughter's memory while creating her own relationship with Emily. 5 years after the accidental text, Mark and Jessica sat on their porch swing, watching Emily practice soccer in the yard. Jessica's head rested on Mark's shoulder, her hand intertwined with his. "Do you ever think about how different our lives would be if I hadn't sent that text?" she asked. Mark squeezed her hand. "Sometimes. But I think we would have found each other eventually." "How can you be so sure?" "Because some mistakes aren't mistakes at all," he said, kissing her forehead. "They're the universe's way of putting us exactly where we need to be." If you enjoyed this heartwarming story about second chances and finding love in unexpected places, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring content. Your support helps us continue sharing stories that remind us all that sometimes life's biggest mistakes can lead to our greatest blessings. Drop a comment below sharing your own story of unexpected connections or second chances. We'd love to hear from you.